at building another one, but we are seeing large numbers of people getting on planes and heading towards their homes.
Okay, sir. Thanks for that update. That's Tim Owen of the UNHCR talking to us there. Now, the US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has condemned the killing of at least 6 female protesters in Côte d'Ivoire. They were taking part in a demonstration calling for President Laurent Gbagbo to step down. Imran Khan reports.
Dancing, singing, the message is clear. Gbagbo must go. It's a light-hearted demonstration. The women use leaves to symbolically brush away his regime. Then this. These pictures were taken on Thursday and could mark the turning point in the disputed elections of Côte d'Ivoire. 6 women were murdered. You can clearly see camouflage vehicles drive through the crowd. The UN claimed that these were pro-government forces. That's denied by the Gbagbo loyalist army, who said that they were not operating here in Abobo. Many fear that more incidents like this could drag the country into civil war. Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, says Gbagbo must step down.
The pressure is on, and I think if the population sustain their efforts, maintain the pressure for him to go, he eventually will have to go. Other leaders said they weren't going, but they are not around.
The situation has led to widespread panic. On Friday, many rushed to withdraw money from banks. Others are fearful that continued violence could lead to genocide, that thousands could die. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera.
Protesters in Egypt have clashed with security forces in Alexandria after they tried to storm a state security building. This amateur video is believed to show police trying to get rid of identification documents inside the building. Witnesses say the security forces opened fire at the protesters, resulting in several injuries. This comes as thousands of protesters gathered in Cairo's Tahrir Square after Friday prayers. They warmly welcomed the newly appointed Prime Minister Essam Sharaf, but urged the demonstrators to do their part to rebuild the country.
I'm here because I get my legitimacy from you. I will exert all my efforts to respond to your demands, and if I fail, I will join you.
Several thousand Pakistani Christians have attended the burial of the murdered Minorities Minister Shahbaz Bhatti. He was killed on Wednesday in Islamabad after calling for reforms to Pakistan's blasphemy law. Kamal Haider has the story.
Last rites for a man who predicted his own death. Shahbaz Bhatti's coffin, draped in the flag of the All-Pakistan Minority Alliance, was brought to Islamabad's main church for a final goodbye. Amidst tight security, mourners gathered outside Fatima Church to pay homage to a man who championed minority rights and spoke of reform of Pakistan's controversial blasphemy law. Senior government officials and foreign dignitaries also paid their respects.
The Pakistan flag is a symbolic that the green side and the white side. The white side represents minorities.
For Pakistan's Christians, the loss of Shahbaz Bhatti is great for some. He's now a martyr. His body was then flown to his native village in the Punjab for burial. Shahbaz Bhatti is not the first victim of the controversy over the blasphemy law, and the real fear is that he may not be the last. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Islamabad.
To the United States now, and the man accused of killing 6 people in January's Arizona massacre could be facing the death penalty. Prosecutors in Phoenix have expanded the indictments against Jared Loughner. This will start a review to determine if he should be executed. The 22-year-old was already charged with the attempted killing of U.S. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and the deaths of 5 other people. A hedge fund manager accused of leading the largest insider trading ring in history has appeared before at a pre-trial in New York. Galleon Fund founder Raj Rajaratnam is accused of soliciting inside information from workers at publicly traded companies. Prosecutors claim his fund made $45 million. He's pleaded not guilty to the charges. And staying in the U.S., there appears to be an upturn in employment levels. Figures from the U.S. Labor Department show workers were hired at the fastest pace in the 9 months to February. The jobless rate has also slipped to a nearly 2-year low of just under 9%, but only a fraction of the more than 8 million jobs lost during the recession have been recovered. The ongoing dispute between Wisconsin's trade unions and the state governor appears to be escalating. Relations have been strained over a budget balancing bill that would strip workers of their collective bargaining rights. And now reports say Governor Scott Walker has formally notified unions of his intention to lay off public sector workers. Let's speak to Frank Emspak. He's the founder and producer of Workers Independent News Network, a radio station and website representing working class people. He joins me from Madison in Wisconsin State. So, Mr. Emspak, we have this dispute now between the governor and the unions. What is the latest situation on this attempt to get this bill through, which would strip workers of their rights?
Well, I think the latest situation is that we're at impasse. The senators, 14 Democratic Party senators, are camped out in Illinois, and as a result, there is not a quorum in the Senate to deal with financial matters. The Capitol is increasingly locked down, that is, closed to residents. A lot of the Democratic assemblymen have opened their offices on the lawn of the Capitol, and we're here in Wisconsin, where it's still pretty cold in March.
Mr. Emspak,
and there are several thousand people at any particular time.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to get this into some kind of context. Now, the Democrats who are in the state assembly there, they need to be in their chamber for this law to be passed because they need to make up a quorum, right? Is that correct?
Well, actually, the senators
Yes.
need to be in their chamber because without them, there's no quorum.
Okay. So where are they now?
They're not in their chamber. They're in Illinois. Well, everybody says an undisclosed location, but apparently in the state of Illinois, our neighboring state.
And as long as they stay there, the governor cannot get this law passed.
Correct. Correct. So there's an impasse, and there have been attempts to discuss things, but they have not reached fruition. And the governor has now said or ordered the Capitol Police or the state police to detain any Democratic senators who enter the state, bring them to the State House, willingly or not, and once they enter the state capitol, declare there is a quorum, even if the senators are not in the chamber, and pass the law. The senators, the Democratic senators, have continued to maintain that they will not come to the state of Wisconsin under these circumstances. So it's an impasse, and we do not know what's going to happen. The governor has raised the stakes by claiming that if this budget repair bill, this is a 3-month bill, incidentally, it's not passed to lay off state workers. I know that state workers have, or some state agency have printed up layoff notices, but this is the beginning of a longer process because the real budget, the 2-year budget, was also proposed the other day, which has draconian cuts in a whole variety of areas. So lots and lots of people are upset, but it goes beyond a specific budget bill. The unions have already conceded the total amount of money that the governor requested in the so-called budget repair bill. And so from the point of view of money and budget, that's not an issue. And